LB Jack, who we call AJ, was born on July 24th, 2010, and he was an impossibly perfect infant. He hardly made us peep, he slept through the night, and he charmed everyone with quite possibly the most expressive eyebrows in the history of eyebrows. Without a word of a lie, this kid can tell a story simply by giving you one look.
Shortly before his first birthday, though, our world started to turn upside down. We couldn't keep up. We seemed to be busier than most families. AJ's activity level kept us on our toes. I just used a bit of a cliche term there. Let me reword. There wasn't a piece of our house that hadn't been repainted several times due to him drawing on the walls, quite literally with whatever he could find. Anything that could be broken had been broken. There was no place high enough to be considered safe. Poison control was on speed dial, and there were shreds of used duct tape lying around, which was evidence of the only way we managed to keep his shoes on.
Now there's probably a lot of you in the room right now, they're like, oh, that's just a little boy. Little boys are like that. Well, there is no line that we heard more than that, and let me tell you, we wanted to believe it. But there were things that people did not see. He did things that we couldn't anticipate. For example, he'd move so quickly when I was making supper that he would grab the butcher knife off of the counter, and he would run around the kitchen with it, giggling and wildly flapping his arms. He was completely unaware of the danger that he was in, and he would run and jump more enthusiastically the more our energy intensified.
In the middle of winter, our neighbors would watch us sprinting down the walkway behind our house in nothing more than our housecoats because Albie had snuck out the back door, through the gate, and down the path with nothing on but a diaper. It would be 40 below out and he didn't seem to notice.
And he stopped sleeping, like ever. Instead, he would rock and bang his head against the bars of the crib, causing the walls to shake and causing the neighbors to pull our daughter aside and say, is everything okay in your home?
Before long, we were no longer invited to people's homes because of the terror we brought with us. Talk programs were not an option. The babysitter quit. Our businesses suffered, our relationship was tense, and all of us, including our daughter, were unbelievably hyper-vigilant about our surroundings. We had a rule. If he goes, you go, because undoubtedly he would find himself in danger.
One morning as we were attempting to get out of the house, my son escaped out the front door and he ran towards the road. My diligent and extremely overprotective 7-year-old daughter threw herself after him. And I can still hear the screeching of the tires as I very nearly witnessed the loss of both of my children, one of whom was flapping his hands and giggling, totally unaware of what he had done, and one who was only following the rule that if he goes, you go. I realized we'd become so careful of protecting him that I was putting both of my children in danger. Perhaps it was that experience that pushed us to visit the doctor, or maybe it was an accumulation of all the things that felt different. But within a few months, we were digesting the term autism. And that is a fuzzy stretch of time for us. We realized that we had been blind to what was in front of us, and we knew that we needed to play catch up. But you know what? Catching up is hard to do when you are drowning in grief. Because let me tell you, there is nothing that can prepare a parent for the level of grief that they experience when they find out that their child has a disability.
He has plenty of abilities. He just has different challenges.
Different challenges. And we remember to acknowledge that now. But then, it was a different struggle. I can't really explain the way your soul crumbles when you hear that the life that you had imagined for your child was going to look very different from the life that your child was actually going to live. That beautiful horizon that we'd been floating towards started to look murky and unclear. We were uncomfortably aware that we were different. Different from our friends, different from our family, different from our neighbors and strangers. Our family was different. And being different can be terrifying. But being inexperienced is also terrifying, and that part we knew we could fix. As we all dove into learning as much as we could about autism, we learned about a place in Red Deer called Aspire Special Needs Resource Center.
The day we found out that AJ would be attending the Aspire in the fall, Aaron announced on social media as though he had been accepted into the specialized services version of an Ivy League school.
He's in, because he kind of was. Aspire Special Needs Resource Center opened our eyes, our hearts, and our very closed box of hope within weeks of AJ attending. Not only were we reaping, or he was reaping the benefits of intense programming, big plug here, our son went from a severe speech delay to a mild speech delay within 4 months of attending the program. But we were also reaping the benefits of being surrounded by people who get it. People who not only manage the unexpected behaviors of our son, but who could also read us and walk us through our difficult times too. What we learned during our time at Aspire was to stop and look at the world around us, like really look at it. We realized that just because we were in the water, it did not mean that we were drowning. And we weren't just learning how to stay afloat and to drop the unnecessary dead weight that we were carrying. We were learning how to be our son's vessel. We also managed to see just how many people were in the water with us, with their hands outstretched, reaching to connect. Hundreds of people with one thing that makes us all the same. Our families are different. It turns out there's an incredible bond you share when you share the similarity, and without having to say it, you become each other's vessels too.
So here we are 5 years later, in a community of families and professionals who continuously barge forward, throwing lifelines and tapping out signals of inclusion. Sometimes we're a community of cargo ships, sometimes we're warships, but we're always a vessel on a mission.
He totally just insinuated that I'm a warship.
She has fired a few warning shots across the bow.
Well, we are the A-team, and I pity the fool who don't do inclusion. Just ask the school. And while we're speaking tonight with the assumption that many of you are parents like we are acutely aware that there are some of you in the room who have no family connection to a child who attends Aspire at all. And we need you to know how much it means to us as parents that you are willing to be here tonight. Because by being here, you are telling us that you're getting in the water with us, hands outstretched and minds prepared to move forward. We see you, educators and friends and community members, and we want to thank you for sailing in and joining our child's fleet. LB Jack is one of the 2 greatest gifts that we have ever received. He has taught us more about who we are and what we're capable of than we could have ever dreamed. Him and the community vessel that he rides on have taught us that being a family with different challenges is not a terrifying thing. It's as beautiful as that silver-lined horizon that we are all floating towards. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like you guys to stand, have a drink, and a toast and a cheers to Aspire.
And our A-team.